The 27th day of March 2023 is actually the last Monday of this month. My name is Njue, welcoming you to KBC Lunchtime News. Anne Wangeshi is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. We have the latest news making headlines from around the country and beyond. Not forgetting the second leg of the Azimio demos today in various parts of the country. We begin our live coverage on that Azimio note, where we cross over to Kibra, where my colleague Timothy Kipnusu is currently keeping tabs with what is happening there. Good afternoon, Tim. Kindly bring us up to speed.
A very good afternoon to you, my colleague Njue, there at the broadcasting house. Yes, indeed, I'm coming to you live from Woodley, Fort Jesus in Kibra constituency. Bearing in mind, this is one of the strongholds of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya principal Raila Odinga, and the place has been chaotic for the last 2 hours ago, and the demonstrators have been there's been cat and mouse between the demonstrators and the police. Of course, the anti-riot police, as you can see behind me, they are at least now arresting the demonstrators have been pursued, and as we speak, a number of places like Malindi and Olympic, the demonstrators have burnt tires, and they also descended on a number of journalists in the process, and 2 of the journalists are nursing wounds, and one of the cars of one of the media's houses has been destroyed as we speak. One of them is undergoing some treatment in one of the hospitals around here, and the situation is calm now, but the areas that has been witnessing the chaos, the demonstrators have been pursuing the police, is Olympic and of course Makina Ward. And where we are in Woodley, the situation is calm right now. As you can see behind me, the security personnel are still beefing up security to ensure that things are back to normal. And a number of them that have interviewed the residents from here are really lamenting that they have not been able to open business because of fearing that the demonstrators perhaps might steal from them, and of course even hurting them. And joining me is one gentleman. Just come closer to tell us the aftermath of this particular demos that have been happening here in Kibra constituency. Tuambie jina lako na tueleze hali imekuwa vipi. Nimeona kwamba unafanya kazi hapa na haujafungua.
Kwa majina naitwa Justin, nakaa hapa Woodley. Kazi yetu imesimama kujoin maandamano, lakini naona mapolisi wanafanya kazi poa. Sasa hii kuko calm. Mawe uko na mawe vizuri zimetupwa huko, tear gas wametupiwa, wametawanyika. But hii imetufanyisha kazi ngumu, sababu leo mimi nafanya mechanic na kazi yetu imesimama. Unaona? Sasa hakuna design tunaweza jikimu hiki kazi iko chini, maandamano hakuna magari zinatembea.
Pengine unatoa wito kwa Ruto pamoja na Raila waweze kuzungumza. Wito wako kwa serikali nini?
Mimi naomba wito wangu kwa serikali, Ruto na Raila waweze kukutana kuzungumza kuhusu hili jambo, sababu maandamano si mzuri, bado inatumiza kama sisi wa Kenya. Japo bei ya unga iko juu, na maandamano si suluhisho, sababu ukiangalia mali ya Wakenya inaharibiwa, vitu za watu zinaibiwa huku. So sioni suluhisho kwa maandamano. Wakae tu chini wazungumze kuhusu hii maneno, waweze kuelewana.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let me engage one of the journalists who they were trying to. There was a push and pull between the demonstrators and the journalists. And as I mentioned, 2 of them are really been hurt by the.
Timothy Kipnusu live from Kibra there, keeping tabs with what is happening there. And of course, he has also engaged one of the residents there, talking about the largely peaceful, but a lot is that stand still. He's talking about there were reports of skirmishes that led to 2 journalists being injured. But other than that, it has been largely peaceful. And still on the Azimio protest, let's cross over to the coastal city of Mombasa. Ann Mburu has been keeping tabs with what is happening in Mombasa CBD. Ann?
Things. Kajaribu kuninyang'anya. Wamekaa mwakanisa.
To YouTube.
Good afternoon, Ann.
Once again, it is extremely hot in Mombasa, 34 degrees Celsius. And today being a Maandamano Day, as it was announced by the Azimio party leader, Raila Odinga, Mombasa residents have decided to just do their business, go on with their business like any other day. They are not picketing, they are not demonstrating. No one has been on the streets picketing. All they have been doing is going about their business. And right now, as my cameraman could pan, you see that everyone is going about their business. Businesses have been opened, banks are open, churches are open. Those who want to go to church during the afternoon prayers, like right now I'm at Fontanella roundabout, and just across me is a church, and there's a mass ongoing right now, and everyone is just going about their business. Remember, keep in mind that today it was announced that it was going to be a demonstration Azimio Day, but nothing is really happening in Mombasa. Business as usual. Everyone is moving about their own business. Now being a lunchtime, most of them are out of their offices, going for lunch. Just in Mombasa, everything is just calm. That is what I can report right now, reminding everyone that business should go on. Mombasa is a business hub. And just to keep in mind is that this is the holy month of Ramadan, and Mombasa is mostly populated by Muslims, and it is an Islamic town, we could say, per se. But during this period of Ramadan, no one really has gone to the field just to go and picket or do anything. So Ramadan has also helped this particular period, since most of them have decided to stay indoors. No one is going to the streets for any demonstrations. So generally, Mombasa County is a calm town, despite other regions demonstrating. Mombasa residents have decided to go about their business, do their own things, just calm as it is. The ferry is operational as every day, every time people are crossing from the south coast to the north coast. At the Makupa Causeway, everything is also going on. People from the west side, they are also going about their business. At the Marukiti market and the Kongoya market, also business is just going on as it is supposed to be. No one is demonstrating. No one is going to the streets to demonstrate. So generally, all I can say is that Mombasa is a calm town today, even as the others continue to demonstrate. We don't know about Thursday. Maybe there's going to be those who will decide to picket or demonstrate. We do not know. We'll just have to sit and wait and see what happens on Thursday. But today being a Monday, everything is just calm in Mombasa County. Back to you, studio, Bentro Njue. Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
Very well, and just like we spoke earlier in the morning, Mombasa is largely quiet, peaceful. Everybody is going about their normal duties, as we saw in Kisumu, where we are now crossing over. Achola Simon has been keeping tabs as well. And earlier on, we spoke with Achola, and yes, people were demonstrating, but quite peaceful. And after that, they were supposed to be addressed by the Kisumu Governor, Anyang' Nyong'o. Achola Simon, good afternoon.
Well, thank you very much, Ben Troy. Of course, the situation keep changing here in Kisumu County. In the morning, of course, when we were giving our brief in Yamasaria, the situation was pretty different from what we're experiencing now. Remember, in the morning, the governor of Mombasa, Anyang' Nyong'o, and his deputy, Dr. Matthews Willie, had actually managed to convince the demonstrators to ensure that they go to the CBD and actually took the northern bypass, and they went all the way to Yamasaria, and of course that is where they actually met, voiced their concerns, and of course did whatever they were supposed to do before his passing. But as we speak right now, we're coming to the CBD. Of course, it is clear that business is not going on here in CBD. Most of the shops are actually remained closed. This is probably advised by what happened last week on Monday. But what we also see is a fact that a number of border riders have actually come and they actually taken the position. However, there's very little activity which is actually going on in terms of probably feeding passengers to respective destinations, or actually shops are being open. What is also happening is the fact right round about this.
Apologies, we seem to be having some technical hitch in terms of the sound quality there from Kisumu, but as you have seen, there are some residents milling around the CBD, and as Achola has alluded to, is that largely peaceful, but a lot of shops, majorly lots of shops have closed shop, and they have decided that today they are not going to open, which is of course something that is the mandamanos are affecting businesses as well. We'll be getting to Achola Simon with the live pictures. We've seen police officers and also demonstrators, but largely peaceful. That is what is happening in Mombasa, in Kisumu, and also in Nairobi. We have seen quite some peace. In other news, if my director can tell me if we have to have another view of what is happening in terms of the mandamanos. All right, let's now cross over and get in touch with our reporter Regina Manyara. I'm informed she is at the Milimani Road. Kindly bring us to speed.
Good afternoon once again, Ben Troy. We have been scouting the various routes in which one would want, if one wanted to actually access State House, could use. As of this morning, we were able to look at the Arboretum Drive as well as State House Avenue and State House Road. We were allowed to record from there, but as late or as recent as like 10 minutes ago, we were not allowed to shoot from that particular area with the security apparatus there. The leads officers telling us that they have received instructions from the county commander not to allow anyone from any media house to either take a photo or even take a video of those particular areas. State House remains a well-secured establishment, and either accessing it from Arboretum or State House Road or even State House Avenue is literally impossible. What we have seen this morning is that anyone who is driving or even walking, you have to have a form of identification. That is your national ID card, and you have to state where exactly you are going on this particular routes. If it is not necessary that you are either on State House Road or even the Arboretum Drive and State House Avenue, you're redirected to other routes to access the point that you want to go. Or if they find that you do not have the requisite documents and you're not supposed to be on that particular road, you are sent back. Where we are right now is Milimani Road. Up ahead, you would join and access State Dennis Pritt Road. At that point, Dennis Pritt, which is like from where it is, where the junction is like a 5 minutes walk to State House. We have barred from accessing that place, either on foot or even on vehicle, on account of security matters. Just some few minutes ago, before we came to broadcast, Ben Troy, we saw a truck loaded with armed security operators in response to what is happening in pockets of the CBD and its environs. We're talking about what is happening around the Ngong Kibra Link Road, where we were earlier, and some rowdy youth were engaging the security operators. They're throwing stones, heckling and such before we came here. But the situation, you cannot compare the situation in as far as security matters are concerned with what we saw last week. Right now, being that I was on ground last week and and today being Monday the 26th, there's a whole difference. The security operators seem to have gotten this issue well in hand for the better part of the morning, and we hope that this is going to spill over into the afternoon. If we look at what was happening last week, most demonstrators and skirmishes and running battles were witnessed in the better part of the afternoon. We don't know if this is what is going to be happening. We are also waiting to hear where the leaders of opposition are going to be at. Last week they were at the Serena Hotel. Right now we can confirm that none of them has been seen entering the Serena Hotel, probably in a change of tact or strategy, and we will soon be finding out exactly where they will be. And we have reporters across the Central Business District. John Jacob Kure is in Serena keeping tabs on that. But as far as we are concerned, the Kenya Police have ensured that all roads that lead to State House are manned. And if you're not expected to be using that particular route or road, then access is denied. Back to you, Troy.
Thank you, Ray, for that report. And as you can see, Milimani Road, police, and also quite some peace there. And from the Milimani Road, we now cross over to Kisumu, where Achola Simon has been keeping tabs with what is happening there. Achola, good afternoon.
Well, thank you, Ben, Troy, Njue. We will apologize for that technical hitch with our sound. However, the issue has now been sorted out, and of course, I want to believe that you can actually get us loud and clear. I was actually saying was a fact. What we were saying is a fact that things have been quite peaceful here today in the morning, where, of course, the governor of Kisumu County, Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o, and his deputy, including some of the elected leaders here in Kisumu County, did manage to talk to the demonstrators who actually had gathered at Kondele. Kondele is usually the place where demonstrators here in Kisumu actually gather before, of course, they hold that procession into right through the CBD. They did manage to actually meet the demonstrators, and of course managed to convince them to use the northern bypass, which actually passes just behind Kibuye market, one of the largest market in this open air market in this region, of course towards Nairobi Road to a stage called Nyamasaria. And they did manage to hold that procession peacefully, of course voicing their anti-government sentiments. And of course at around 10:30 thereabout, they did manage to break, and each and every person, of course, went their way. What has actually happened, Ben, is that small pockets of demonstrators did manage to gather in various positions, and some of them have actually been trying to access the CBD. The CBD remains largely deserted, and there's no many activities actually going on in the CBD in terms of the usual business, because here, especially this particular place we are, is actually a beehive of activities, people actually running small businesses here and there. But as we speak right now, most of those shops are actually closed. So the demonstrators, small pockets of demonstrators, have actually been trying to access the CBD. And what is happening is that the police have actually managed to put a buffer zone right here on this roundabout, repulsing any efforts by those demonstrators to access the CBD. They've actually managed to lob tear gas canisters in the crowd that was actually trying to surge towards town. But what we can actually report, Troy Njue, is a fact that we've not witnessed chaos to the scale that we actually witnessed last Monday. The shops have not been looted, despite the fact that most of them remained closed, and we've also not seen destruction of property as witnessed on Monday. The other thing that we've actually witnessed, but not to the scale that we actually witnessed last Monday, has been the issue of barricading the road. There are small roadblocks that have actually been erected on some of the roads that are actually leading into the CBD by the youths who are actually manning those roadblocks. But there's nothing much that is actually happening. When we were coming from Nyamasaria towards town, we actually encountered 3 or 4 such barricades. But the good thing is that they did allow us to actually pass without doing any harm to us or even the vehicle that you're actually using to access the CBD. So it remains largely peaceful, except for the fact that the demonstrators have actually been engaging the police in running battles here and there. Of course, that is an issue that we will actually be keeping a keen eye on, just to get to see how it will unravel as the day goes by. But one thing that we must give credit to is the fact that the leadership of Kisumu County came out strongly and did manage to convince the demonstrators not to come to town. We don't want to imagine the large crowd that had actually gathered in Kondele. Had they been allowed to come to town, what might have actually happened? But they took They took the initiative and talked to them to ensure that they actually moved or they demonstrated using the northern bypass that goes all the way to Nyamasare. Other than that, of course, Ben, is the fact that here people are actually very calm. We've actually seen a number of border borders actually been allowed into town, though there's not much they're actually doing in terms of business, but they've actually been allowed into town, which is a good sign. And we've also seen a number of people actually moving up and about. The only thing that the police are actually ensuring is that those that are actually engaged in demonstrations are not allowed into town for obvious reason. Ben, remember that just before the technical hitch occurred, I was saying that we did manage to talk to the chair of the National Chambers of Commerce, who is the chair in Kisumu County. And one of the issues that he actually raised was the fact that Kisumu County loses hundreds of millions of shillings each and every time we go for demonstrations. While he was not clear on whether the demonstrations must be there or not, what he did state was the fact that the county continues to lose millions, hundreds of millions of shillings, and there's need for actually to check on how those demonstrations can actually go on. However, businesses are also allowed to operate normally. Ben, that is what we have for you now, but of course, no doubt we'll be keeping a keen eye on what will happen here, so that then, of course, in our subsequent live links, we'll actually be able to tell you what is happening here in Kisumu County.
Thank you. That has been Achola Simon with the live feed from Kisumu City, and as you can see, he's talked about it's largely peaceful, no chaos, no shops looted, but a lot of them remain closed in fear of any repercussions. Of course, he's talking about no destruction of property, but we have seen them. They are milling around that, and they were earlier on having peaceful demonstrations. And of course, the governor Anyang' Nyong'o also talking about the demonstration and urging them to maintain peace and calm. That is what is happening in the lakeside city of Kisumu, also Mombasa, largely peaceful, and also here in Nairobi. Let's now cross over to the Serena, where JJ Kuria is also on standby to give us a feel of what is happening there. He has been camping at the Serena. Remember, at the Serena Hotel, the Processional Way is also one of the feeder roads to State House. JJ?
Thank you, Bentro. Good afternoon to you. It's good to link up with you once more amidst this sun that is in Nairobi. Now, we live still at the Serena Hotel, of course, outside the Serena Hotel. And as you can see very quickly, the number of anti-riot police entering the Serena Hotel. So far, I've counted about 7 of them who are making their way into the Serena Hotel. And we understand there are also a number of them again inside. You remember from last Monday, there is the venue that the Honorable Raila Odinga intended to address the press before heading to the streets alongside Azimio leaders, but that was not to happen because they were dispersed with tear gas by police officers. And probably if that was to be, if he was to come back here again seeking to address the press before then, you would probably imagine that the same fate will befall him because the number of anti-riot police that are inside this hotel, so far I have counted 7 who were going in. Before them, there were another 4. That makes about 11 police officers who were already there. And probably because we've not been able to access Serena Hotel, they could probably be even more than 11 police officers keeping guard and keeping vigil around Serena Hotel, of course expecting probably the Honorable Raila Odinga will be making his way here together with the other Azimio leaders to address the press probably before they head out for the mass demonstration. So far we don't know about the location of Raila Odinga and whether he will be coming here after all. That still remains in question. But this is just as the situation is right now. And you can see there's quite a number of them. And then the security checks around Serena Hotel before you make it. I think police officers are ensuring that they screen everybody alongside the Serena security to ensure that everybody who makes it there does not have probably the intention of a demonstrator. And that is how it is. And of course, from reliable sources, we understand that the Honorable Raila Odinga, together with other Azimio leaders, was in this hotel yesterday, immediately after he was done with his day's activities, which included a Sunday service in Nairobi's Eastlands. He came here, and together with his team, they left at around 8 p.m. last night to where? The source could not tell us to where, but of course they were here last night from around 4 p.m. To all the way up until 8 p.m. Will they address the press from here? Is this where they will launch today's activities? That remains in question. We are not aware just yet whether he will make it here. But what I can report so far, Bentro, is that the security is tight. Earlier had shown you pictures of how Processional Way looks like, as well as Nyerere Road. We're just a few meters away from Processional Way, so I can still see it from here, and police officers are still on guard, tear gas canisters on tow, and ready to deal with the demonstrators, if you were to say so, or keeping law and order. And that is how Processional Way looks like. This is the entrance of Serena Hotel, where you would expect that the Honorable Raila Odinga will be addressing the press if you were to follow the Monday routine. Whether that will change also, like I've said, it remains in question. But very quickly, if my cameraman can give you a quick peep to Kenyatta Avenue, which is this way that leads to Serena Hotel, exits to the Kenyatta Avenue. And as you can see, traffic is flowing normal. Normally around this time you would find a bit of traffic and police officers down Uhuru Highway trying to control traffic that is flowing from Kenyatta Avenue and other areas around the city. But as you can see, there is normal flowing of traffic. Not so many vehicles that are exiting Kenyatta Avenue or entering through Kenyatta Avenue, but that's what you can see generally from this point. That traffic is flowing normally, but then not too much of activity. There's a bit of come up until now. There's not any flurry of activity here that you would say is testament or leading towards the thought that probably the Honorable Raila Odinga will be coming here. And so I guess much of it is relying on a hunch or based on the events of last Monday. But none is too sure that the Honorable Raila Odinga will be coming to Serena Hotel. That's just it for now. I'll hand it back to Gladys Mungai, who is in the streets in the Central Business District, to update us on the latest. Gladys.
Good afternoon to you, Bentro Njue. Like you rightly put it, we are at the Nairobi's capital, CBD in Nairobi County, following up on the demonstration of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. And as we had spoken earlier on in the morning, the situation is that there is a lot of improvement in terms of activities in the CBD. As you can see behind me, the matatu sector has sort of come back to normalcy. In the morning, we witnessed that particular number dwindling, but as of this particular time, the matatu sector has resumed its normal operations, and members of the public are going on with their activities. There is also increased traffic when it comes to the number of members of the public who are going on with the activities. Contrary to what is happening on my left, which is Nairobi's capital, we are situated at the junction of City Hall and Moi Avenue, where you can see the buses. That is at the Kencom bus stage, where you can see that particular activity. On my extreme right, where the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition members of that particular coalition are supposed to converge at KICC, there is very little activity, but what we can tell members of the public or our viewers is that the contingent of police officers who have been designated or deployed at the Kenyatta International Conference Center has increased, owing to the expectations that we might experience heated exchanges between members of the public who might be trying to access the Kenyatta International Conference Center. Remember, since morning, we've not had those particular attempts of members of the public converging at that particular point where they're supposed to meet the Azimio La Umoja coalition's leader before they embark on their demonstrations to sort of push the government to lower the cost of living as well as address issues of concern. So away from the issues of police officers who are continuing to be increased in the capital, members of the public are still going on with the activities, and we are waiting to understand or see if indeed the former Premier Raila Odinga will be making his way into the KICC. And this particular conference center has been cordoned off by members of the police service. The whole of KICC from the back to the front has been cordoned off, as well as from other areas where these particular members might likely converge, and that is the Jivanji Gardens. So we are waiting to see in the mysterious ways. You remember what happened last week. You expect them to come out from this particular joint, and they don't. They usually have a sort of a plan B or fallback plan. We will wait to see what will be happening today, Monday, and we'll be giving you that particular update as we get it. Back to you, Troy.
Thank you so much, Gladys Mongai. And earlier on, we had JJ Curia there having a feel of how the country, and more specifically Nairobi, is, Mombasa, and also Kisumu. Of course, we will be keeping a keen eye on that. We haven't had any word from the Azimio One Kenya coalition leaders, but we expect that in the afternoon. And that's where we take our first break at about 33 minutes past the hour. We still have more news making headlines I'll be bringing up to you on the other side of this break.
To get Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 as your skiza tune, dial star 811 star 967 hash.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 to 6.
To get Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5, dial star 811 star 967 hash. Star 811 star 967 hash.
Everyone, from today on, all the luxury brands you see in Immortal can now be found and purchased directly from El Shop.
Just now, I lost control.
That doesn't matter. Just try to shake it off.
Why are you playing this song for me?
What?
Stop coming up with lame excuses to lie to me.
Oh, Mr. Bai.
Do you have any interest in writing some articles?
Huh?
I told you before. You're just like my childhood friend.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
Have you used the hustler fund?
When your children sleep hungry, when you can borrow 500 or 1,000 shillings and they have some food on the table.
Out of 5?
I'll still give it 5 out of 5.
Every week, we bring you The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
He is a fool who has lost sight of what matters. Manta rabaina wahka kawan. Manta werarena.
Huyu contact. Ni msichana umekuwa kitext.
Sir, contact ni contact.
Not if you're making it personal.
Jamaa, kila saa ni kunyambisha.
Nini? Suseme. Watajua kwa nini kachumbari haipashwi moto.
Our transport has been compromised. Me and my team have hit an ID.
Hii ni rescue mission. Kuna police vehicle imechapwa na ID. It's a very simple mission. But stay alert.
Hizi ng'ombe zinachungwa na nani?
Welcome back to KBC Lunchtime News. Moving on, a cross-section of Kenyans have expressed varying reaction over the current opposition-led street protests, saying they are uncalled for. This as security continues to be beefed up in various parts of the country in anticipation of the demos.
Security has been beefed up in various parts of the country amid the anticipated Azimio Moja coalition protest. In Meru Town and Makutano Shopping Center, anti-riot police officers from Meru Police Station were seen patrolling the streets. North Imenti MP Rahim Dawood has warned the locals against participating in the protests, which have since been declared unlawful.
Naogopa hawa tukifanya maandamano maduka zifungwe, boda ziende, watarudi na nini chakula nyumbani? Wale maloaders wako hapa, watafanya kazi gani? Makanga watafanya kazi gani? Raila ndio atawaletea chakula ama huyu Makarena?
These even as businessmen remain worried about incurring losses during the protest, urging for calmness from the public, noting that the protests have subjected them to losses.
The prices are generally higher across the globe, and it will be very, very difficult for the government to actually land that bag of maize here at less than 6,000 shillings.
It's unfortunate for us to have shut down our Nairobi stores, our Kisumu stores, during a month. That loss, where we already have bought fresh goods and all that, is unfortunate, and we'll not like to see that possibly going on.
In Kakamega, the youth are calling for inclusivity through a youth policy, which they say will compel the county government to prioritize their employment, arguing that if engaged in constructive activities, they will not be available for protests.
That the only way we can even deal with maandamano is by employing young people. We have more than 70% of the young people are unemployed. If you employed on Sunday those 1 million youths, on Monday Raila Odinga will not be having youths in Nairobi in a maandamano, because all of them will be in offices.
Trevor Njue for Lunchtime News.
Away from the demos, at least 70 families from Ilbisil, Kajiado Central, have been displaced by heavy downpours witnessed in certain parts of the country. Properties worth thousands of shillings have also been destroyed in the process.
After months of severe drought, floods are ravaging most parts of the country. In Ilbis, Kajiado County, floods maroon the houses, destroying household items to the chagrin of locals who are forced to move to safer grounds due to the floods.
Na vitu zimechukuliwa na tunakaa tu na watoto tukiwa juu ya meza.
Tunahimiza wananchi, ndio hii ni msimu wa mvua, wajaribu watoke. Na tunaona hapa ilikuwa mahali ya maji, na maji ni lazima ipite njia yake.
Some of them had to spend the night outside their houses as they watched helplessly as water levels rose, washing away their properties, including animals.
Mbuzi hata zimebebwa, yule alikuwa na kuku, kwangu hakuna kuku hata moja. Kila mtu hakuna mtu ako na kuku.
Sasa tunang'ang'ana kutoa maji ndani ya nyumba. Sababu imefikia mpaka vitanda. Na tujui sasa mwelekeo wa hii maji.
The residents are now calling upon the county government and well-wishers to come to their aid.
Yamani, tunauliza tu, hatuwezi kuonekania ni makandra.
Sasa mtusaidie serikali kama mnaweza kutusaidia.
Opicho Chemtai for Lunchtime News.
Now, Honduran-American televangelist Guillermo Maldonado has urged Kenyans to avail themselves for a mega crusade this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, at a venue to be communicated. The apostle, who jetted in the country this morning from United States of America, is on a week-long official itinerary where he will also meet top government officials and the business community.
I came here with an assignment from God to bless this country, and we're going to be here ministering to the pastors, and then we're going to be in the crusade. We're going to have a 2-day crusade, which I want to invite every family in Kenya. If you have any sick person, if you need deliverance, if you need salvation, anything you need from God, God is able to do it, and God is ready to do miracles in your life. So I also want to encourage and all the business community and the Westham Hotel. We're going to be there, and I'm going to have some principles for you to prosper.
The family of the slain 12-year-old boy whose body was found dumped in the Chepkoilel area in Uasin Gishu County 4 days after he went missing is crying for justice. Eric Kipto, who was the main suspect in the case, succumbed this morning at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, Eldoret.
The vehicle used to drop off Emmanuel Kimtai's lifeless body at Chepkoilel area in Uasin Gishu County has since been detained at the DCI. In a strange turn of events, Kipto, who is the prime suspect in Kimtai's case, also succumbed while receiving treatment at Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. The family of Kipto, which is ironically situated approximately a kilometer away from the late Kimtai's home, says they are equally shocked by the unfolding events.
Manu alifanyiwa maneno mbaya. Manu ako na miaka 12, si mtu mkubwa. Serikali, msiniwache. Wacha Mungu aitwe Mungu. Tumi sina pesa. Mimi ni mtu mpaka niende nitafute ndio watoto yangu wakule.
Friends and family members gathered at the home of the late Emmanuel to condole with the family following his gruesome death.
Tunaomba haki itendeke kwa huyu mtoto kwa sababu sisi wazazi wenye bado tuko na watoto tunashangaa watoto wetu watatekwa nyara itakuwa namna gani.
Police have confirmed that the case will proceed despite the death of the main suspect.
You see, DCI had opened a file investigating his case of murder. Now that he has died, another file, inquest file, will be opened to investigate about his death.
The family described the late Kimtai as a disciplined boy who had a promising future. Andrew Kero for Lunchtime News.
In other news, residents of the Njue Tanga area in Malindi constituency, Kilifi County, have held demonstrations to protest against what they termed as constant power blackouts in the area. The residents say power lines in the area are hanging very low, close to trees, and no action has been taken despite complaints to the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Led by Captain retired John Kai, they also lamented huge losses incurred in their houses due to frequent power outages.
When we called the call center, they said that the problem had been identified and had been sorted out, and in fact, the reference number had been closed, meaning that we were supposed to have power, but there was no power. We got frustrated. We gathered as a community. This is a problem that is affecting about 15 homes or 15 houses.
So this is a place that we have a lot of problem with power. And when we report to the regional office, the usual answer you get is that they know and they are going to respond. But when it comes to responding, they usually take a very long time to respond. You can even call them on daily basis, they'll give you the same answer, but they won't come and rectify the situation.
Hata it is not even safe kuacha mtoto kwa nyumba au operate vitu za stima peke yake. Unaona? Sasa kuwa sisi hatuna stima, jirani yako akona stima. Hiyo ndio kusema nini? Unajua ingekuwa area yote haina stima, tungeelewa ni shida kubwa, maybe ni transformer ama ni kitu kingine. Lakini watu 15 sisi tushughulikiwe.
From Malindi to Garissa, where Governor Nathif Jama has called for affirmative action by lowering of entry grades for local students in teaching colleges. The county boss said plans are underway to present a formal request to the Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu for consideration.
Leaders from Northeastern region are calling for affirmative action for students in teaching profession, arguing that students from the area are not matching the grade.
Leo nataka niombe rasmi Waziri wa Education kwamba we will come to you with a request for affirmative action in that regard to reduce the minimum entry for the college here to be D+.
Speaking at the Farmers Training College during the launch of Garissa County Bursary Program, Garissa Governor Nathif Jama said the region's education sector is badly affected since there are not enough local teachers.
We do sincerely apologize for that technical hitch in that clip. We'll be bringing you a comprehensive report in regards to Nathif Jama and the affirmative action in our subsequent bulletin. Elsewhere, land conflicts have been listed as the main contributor of frequent terror attacks in Lamu County. This is according to research conducted by Haki Yetu in collaborations with Muslims for Human Rights, Muhuri, and the Lamu County government over the past year. The three human rights groups are now calling upon both levels of government to review land policies that will provide a framework that will outline the process of resettling internally displaced people in the Lamu County and the vast coast region, as well as other parts. They added that terror attacks in the region have direct links to perennial land tussles, as most terrorists attack when a land crisis surfaces up.
Cha mizozo yote, mauaji yote.
Kwa hivyo lazima wawe resettle kama watu wengine ili tuone ile haki na usawa upatikana.
Kujaribu kuona kwamba masuala ya ardhi yanatatuliwa na pia mizozo ama zile athari ambazo zimekuwepo zinapata suluhu pia. Wakazi wa Lamu waweze kuishi bila kuwa na ule wasiwasi kwamba watafurushwa.
Kama county government tumeanza kufanya planning na survey ambao sasa hii so far tuko na Moa, tuko na Koreni, tuko na Ndau na other part of Lamu.
Kilifi County government is upgrading the Mbegu Fund into Wezesha Fund, a low-interest fund aiming at benefiting small-scale business enterprises in the region. Deputy Governor Flora Mbetsa Chibule says the youth should take advantage of the fund by organizing themselves into groups and establishing businesses to benefit from 30% of the funds earmarked for special groups.
A section of youths in Kilifi County turned up in numbers to showcase their talents and locally made products at Mekatilili Trade Fair 2023, organized by Nob Digital. Kilifi County Deputy Governor Flora Mbetsa Chibule said small-scale business enterprises in the region will soon benefit from an upgraded fund that has low interests.
Ambao wana manage small businesses tumekwenda upgrade uwezo fund, tumeita Wezesha. Kwa nini itakuwezesha zaidi? Ni kwa sababu the annual amount which is 100 million tumeweza kuiwekeza katika banki yetu hapa Cooperative Bank ambao umetupatia mara 5 ya hiyo pesa.
Manuel Baraka, the Mekatilili Trade Fair Organizing Committee chairperson, urged the youths in the region to unite and come up with strategies of making livelihoods using their skills and local resources.
Matokeo yanatupatia moyo kwamba si kwamba ni pesa ambayo tunahitaji, bali ni fikra ambazo tuko nazo kama vijana ambazo tuweza shirikiana pamoja kuweza kufanya jambo kubwa kama hili. Kwa hivyo vijana naomba kwamba waungane, wasione kwamba ni ajira tu ambayo itaweza kuwasaidia, bali waangalie katika upande mwingine.
Victoria Tino, a team leader of Njue initiative implemented by Sacco Kenya, said production of reusable sanitary towels using locally available resources is an example of how youth can innovate to solve social problems.
Majority of the people here are entrepreneurs. Like they are the companies around are very different, and you find that young men and women are coming out to start their own businesses. They are not sitting down to wait to be employed.
Pauline Nassimi for Lunchtime News.
The Central Bank of Kenya has approved 10 additional digital credit providers, bringing to 32 the total number of licensed digital lenders operating in the country. The Apex Bank says it is still reviewing applications from 369 digital lenders. The Central Bank says it is engaging other regulators and agencies pertinent to the licensing process.
The Central Bank of Kenya introduced the Digital Credit Providers Regulation 2021, which was precipitated by concerns about the predatory practices of unregulated digital credit providers, about their high cost, unethical debt collection practices, and the abuse of personal information. The licensing and oversight of digital lenders under the new regulations requires digital lenders to disclose all loan charges before disbursing loans to borrowers. The central bank says it has so far received 401 applications from digital lenders. In September last year, the central bank licensed 10 digital lenders and issued a cease and desist order for all unlicensed operators from conducting digital credit business in Kenya. In January, the Apex Bank licensed 12 more digital credit providers, bringing to 22 the total number of licensed digital lenders. And today, the central bank says it has licensed 10 more digital lenders, bringing to 32 the total number of licensed digital credit providers in the country. This means 369 digital lenders who apply to be licensed are still not operational. A statement from the central bank says, CBK has received 401 applications since March 2022 and has worked closely with the applicants in reviewing their applications. Additionally, CBK has engaged other regulators and agencies pertinent to the licensing process, including the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. The focus of the engagements has been inter alia on business models, consumer protection and fitness, and propriety of proposed shareholders, directors, and management. We acknowledge the efforts of the applicants and the support of other regulators and agencies in this process. Hibak Said for Lunchtime News.
Across borders, Zambia has added an additional 750 megawatts of power to its national grid following the commissioning of the Chinese-built Kafue Gorge Lower Hydro Power Station in Lusaka. The power plant, located 90 kilometers south of the Zambian capital, Lusaka, was built by China's hydropower engineering and construction company Sino Hydro and funded by the Export-Import Bank of China.
Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema, who presided over the inauguration ceremony, said the project, which is part of the Belt and Road Initiative, will help alleviate power shortages in Zambia and neighboring countries and is expected to boost economic development in Zambia and improving people's lives. The commissioning of the plant, which began construction in 2015, adds an additional 750 megawatts of power to the national grid following the switching on of its fifth generator. Zambia's installed capacity stands at 2,800 megawatts. 85% of that is hydro-based and increasingly vulnerable to climate change. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has warned that Tunisia urgently needs to reach a deal with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, adding to dire EU warnings about the country's future. Tunisia has been struggling with mounting debt and rising prices worsened by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It reached an agreement in principle in mid-October for a nearly $2 billion package from the International Monetary Fund. Finally, blackouts have reduced the potential size of South Africa's economy by almost a fifth since they started being imposed around 2008, according to energy specialists. Outages can be expected every week this year, and if the inadequate electricity generation situation is not addressed, the prospects for economic growth will be dismal. Lungile Mashale, sector specialist for energy and infrastructure at the Public Investment Corporation, told a conference in Johannesburg on Thursday. Frederick Mwoki for Lunchtime News.
Back home, members of Githongori Daily Community Sacco are set to benefit from 141 million shillings in dividends. Sacco chairman Joseph Gitau Mboro says the effective use of technology has spurred the Sacco and led to increased earnings. Details of this and more stories in our corporate briefs.
Githongori Dairy Community Sacco has implored the government to formulate policies that will address double taxation faced by farmers when receiving dividends. They said the high cost of living has increased the cost of production, narrowing their profit margins.
Ile tunaita systemic ama continuous taxation of the same subject. Kwa mfano mkulima akichukua loan, kuna ile pesa watu tunakata kama kodi, lakini kwetu watu wapatii cheki waende kwa benki. Tuko na fosa ama bank pale ndani. Kwa hivyo hiyo pesa tukawekea kwa account, tena tunawafuata. Kila wakati wakitoa pesa tunatoa excise duty. Na tumekaa chini tukaanalyze tukaona ni kama tunakula huyo mkulima mara nyingi sana.
Kama high cost of production kwa chakula ya ng'ombe, hata fuel, hizo zote serikali ikiangalia ilete hiyo gharama chini, huyu mkulima ataweza kusave hiyo pesa yake.
Meanwhile, tea factories in Kericho County have resumed operations in the wake of the long-awaited rains. The dry season had seen the supply of the green leaf decline, forcing factories to cut down on production costs. The move will also ensure farmers benefit from tea sales, as market prices are currently on the rise owing to higher exchange rates.
I want to urge farmers to continue supplying good leaf to our company so that we can be able to catch up with the competitive market worldwide.
And finally, global cloud communications platform Infobip has rolled out live video support to help businesses resolve customer queries more quickly and shorten customer wait times. The feature eliminates time-consuming back and forth between the agent.
And in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo scored twice as Portugal thrashed Luxembourg 6-0 in their second match of the Euro 2024 qualifiers. Meanwhile, Harry Kane and Bukayo Saka were on target as England beat Ukraine 2-0.
Bruno Fernandes. Oh, and did it hit Ronaldo?
In the other match of Group C, Italy beat Malta 2-0.
Which is